Everybody, and welcome to this monologue from As You Like It, a play by William Shakespeare. Now, I'm sure most of you have heard of Shakespeare. He was a very famous British poet and playwright. If you look at the About the Author there, it will give you some more information about him. But we are going to jump right into the monologue down here and discuss what's going on here with this narrator here. All right, so As You Like It is a play, and in this play we have a character speaking about the nature of life. All the world's a stage, and all the men and women merely players. They have their exits and their entrances, and one man in his time plays many parts, his acts being 7 ages. At first, the infant, mewling and puking in the nurse's arms, and then the whining schoolboy with his satchel and shining morning face creeping like snail unwilling to school. And then the lover, sighing like furnace, with a woeful ballad made to his mistress's eyebrow. Then a soldier, full of strange oaths and bearded like the pard, jealous in honor, sudden and quick in quarrel, seeking the bubble reputation, even in the cannon's mouth. And then the justice, in fair round belly with good cape on lined, with eyes severe and beard of formal cut, full of wise saws and modern instances, and so he plays his part. The 6 age shifts into the lean and slippered pantaloon, with spectacles on nose and pouch on side, his youthful hose well saved, a world too wide for his shrunk shank and his big manly voice, turning again toward childish treble, pipes and whistles in his sound. Last scene of all, that ends this strange, eventful history, is second childishness and mere oblivion. Sans teeth, sans eyes, sans taste, sans everything. All right, that's a little bleak, isn't it here? So let's kind of look at what's going on here. So the very first thing is that we start with this metaphor of life being like being on a stage, and that we're all just actors in this giant thing we call life. Right? And that's what you have here. All the world's a stage, and all the men and women merely players. So a player is another word for actor in Shakespeare's time. They have their exits and their entrances, and one man in his time plays many parts, his acts being 7 ages. So notice we have the extended metaphor here of acts, right? So in a Shakespearean play, there may be, say, 5 acts, right? So he's saying that life has its own acts, and there are 7 different stages that people go through, which is kind of like an act they go through. All right. So the very first act, we have an infant mewling, which we know is crying, and puking in the nurse's arms. Now that's not, the cute little chubby baby picture that normally we would think of when we think of infants. That's a little extreme here, crying and puking. And then the whining schoolboy with his satchel and shining morning face, creeping like a snail, unwilling to school. I'm sure most of you can identify with that. So he's a whining schoolboy. He's not a happy schoolboy. He's not skipping. He's not having, fun time getting to school. He's like dragging himself. Not too good. And then the lover, sighing like furnace, with a woeful ballad made to his mistress's eyebrow. Now, if you haven't figured that out, Shakespeare, the narrator, is making fun. Right? So normally, if a person were to write a ballad towards someone that they love, they would, highlight the good parts of that person, the attributes they appreciate. But here he's making fun of them by minimizing it to them writing this poem or this song simply about an eyebrow. Right? Kind of insulting. Then a soldier, full of strange oaths and bearded like the pard, jealous in honor, sudden and quick in quarrel, seeking bubble reputation. All right, so he's now grown into a man who has a sense of probably overinflated purpose, right? Quick in quarrel, ready to fight. Even in the cannon's mouth. Okay, then we have, and then the justice. So it makes me think of a judge, right? The justice, in fair round belly with good cape unlined, with eyes severe and beard of formal cut, full of wise saws and modern instances, and so he plays his part. So in other words, now we've got the youth who's kind of grown into an older man, and he tends to be more judgmental, more analytical, more ready to give you a wise saw, which means, a piece of advice such as, a bird in the hand is worth more than two in the bush kind of a thing, right? So he's giving you these sayings to show his wisdom. The sixth age shifts into the lean and slippered pantaloon, with spectacles on nose and pouch on side, his youthful hose well saved, a world too wide for his shrunk shank, and his big manly voice turning again towards childish treble. Okay, so here you have him getting older, getting a little softer. He's got this paunch going on here. He's got his spectacles. And then we move into this end, right? Ends this strange, eventful history. And that would be old age. A second childishness. There's a joke that goes around now about people who, if they have their parents, elderly parents living at home, and they have young children, that they have children moving out of diapers and their parents moving into diapers, right? So that's what he means by the second childishness, is as you get older and you get feeble, you are not able to do as much as you did, and you basically kind of get weaker, more frail, and you're headed towards oblivion, right? Extinction. Without teeth, dentures. Without eyes, going blind or needing glasses to see. Without taste, losing your sense of taste. And eventually, without everything, as in death, right? So as you kind of look here, it's not a monologue about the happy side of life. It's more about, oh God, here we are, we're born, go through these things, then we die. Life is a beast. So, second read, yeehaw, we just did that. What you notice here is that you're going to be listing the stages, right? From infant all the way into the second childhood. And then the description that corresponds with that, right? So the infant being mewling and puking, and then the schoolboy being whining, and you're just going to go down in that respect to link those up, right? And then the connotation. Connotation is the feeling a word carries, right? So you're looking at the connotations here and you're thinking, are these positive things? Are they negative things? Are they neutral? What kind of feeling are these words giving? And C, we get again to feeling, tone. And we would describe this as the author's attitude toward a subject or a character or the reader. And that simply means, how is this person who's speaking in this case feeling about what they're speaking about? So in other words, how does the narrator seem to feel about life? I would say definitely not bright and shiny. All right. Then we get to D, theme. What message do you think the character is giving about the nature of life? So a theme is basically the writer's message about something, right? So it's not one word. It's not just life. We're looking at, what is the message about life? What would this person have to say about life? And it kind of makes you curious as to, is this the person's personality, where this is just what they think life is? Or are they going through a downtime where they just kind of feel down about everything and that, oh my God, what's even the point of life anymore? If we just end up dying, losing everything. Then we get to E, craft and structure. What do the first two lines suggest about life, right? So if you go here, I don't know if you've ever felt like you're just going through the motions and nothing really feels very meaningful, purposeful. You just have to do it and get it over with. And that's kind of what he's getting here, is this whole thing that we're just acting out our part. We're just doing what we're supposed to do, not necessarily having fun while doing it. And then we get to your opinion, which this is always a fun one. Do you agree with the narrator's opinion of life, and explain your answer? So I think at times I would agree with what the narrator is saying there. At times it does feel like, oh, I just got to do this and there's really no great point to it. It just has to be done. Yuck. And then there are other times where life actually feels really vibrant and fun and full, and you're with your friends and you're doing things, and with your family. Maybe you're having a party. So you might not agree with him all the time, or you might. That's where you're going to state your case for that one. And again, if you have any questions with this, please feel free to email me.